Perception is not reality. Let me state with an absolute sense of reality and without any perpetual flexibility at the outset that perception is not reality. As a person who researches and fact check all information that I receive, I know with absolute certainty that what millions of people believe to be reality is not the case. Perception is not reality. Just because you think something is reality doesn't make it reality. Let me start off by showing why perception and reality are different. Here is a dictionary definition of perception. It's the way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression. And here is the dictionary definition of reality: the world or the state of things as it actually exists. Existence that is absolute, self-sufficient, or objective, and not subjected to human decision or conventions. Clearly, perception and reality have different meanings. Perception occurs entirely in the mind, in which mental gymnastics can turn any belief into reality. Reality exists completely outside the mind and can't be easily manipulated. Perception is not reality, but admittedly, perception can become a person's reality. There is a difference because perception has a potent influence on how we look at reality. Think of it this way. Perception acts as a lens through which we view reality. Our perception influences how we focus on, process, remember, interpret, understand, synthesize, decide about, and act on reality. In doing so, our tendency is to assume that how we perceive reality is an accurate representation of what reality truly is. But it's not. The problem is that the lens through which we perceive reality has been distorted and warped by white controllers of the information that shapes our perception of reality. To see our reality as it truly indeed is, you must first acknowledge the fact that all of the societal narratives that shapes our perception of reality are being written exclusively by white sources. Because white people controls all of the official societal narratives, they therefore literally owns the perception of reality. They've exploited this scenario by systematically feeding false narratives into society that exalts their racial group and that falsely marginalizes black people in order to shape public perceptions in ways that aids in maintaining white social dominance over black people. My words are not a racist verbal attack upon the white society. My words reveal the hidden true reality that far too many have been brainwashed from seeing. White people controls the perception of reality. They've exploited this fact by whitewashing the perception of reality in ways that serve their system of white supremacy. Whenever those that have proved themselves as being the most notoriously deceitful, unethical, racist, and most narcissistic group throughout history are the ones controlling public perception of reality, they will always distort the perception of reality in ways that are consistent with those same negative proclivities and tendencies. It's the people they are, it's the way they've always been, and it's the only way they know how to be. Here's proof that your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception that falsely exalts whites and falsely marginalizes black people as a means of maintaining white social dominance over black people. Most people currently function based upon their perception that black men are the worst fathers. However, this is absolutely untrue. The CDC found that 67% of black dads who don't live with their kids see them on a regular basis, compared to 59% of white dads and 32% of Hispanic dads. And there's compelling evidence that number of black dads living apart from their kids stems from structural systems of inequality and poverty, not the unfounded assumption that black men somehow place less value on parenting. The study also found that black dads even are more likely to think it's important to financially provide for their children. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. Most people are also currently functioning based upon their perception that most violent crimes in the U.S. are committed by black people. This commonly held position is an elaborate white deception. The hidden reality is that most violent crimes in the U.S. are committed by white men. In America, most murders are white on white. Quiet as it's kept, more than any other racial group, whites kill whites. Caucasians are also more likely than any other group to kill a family member for financial gain, and are more likely than any other group to kill a parent. I'm sure this comes as a shock to you, for black people tend to be the face of violent crimes in America, while white crimes are either ignored, minimized, or justified. However, according to the FBI data, most violent crimes are perpetuated excessively by whites. In 2020, of all violent acts committed, blacks were responsible for 12%. Whites executed 81% of most violent crimes. Keep in mind that while white crime is actually much worse than these numbers above, because the police targets, arrests, and disproportionately incarcerates blacks at a much higher rate than whites. That's according to the FBI statistics. Now, it's hard to claim a pro-black bias from the FBI. Over the years, the Bureau has been one of the most anti-black organizations out there. In other words, these reports from the FBI is rock solid. Most people also currently function based upon their perceptions that the largest recipients of welfare are black people. This is also an elaborate white deception. You know, we've all heard the stereotype that most welfare recipients are black women. Moreover, that they're lazy, they refuse to work, and have more kids just to collect more money. These perceptions were deliberately created by repetitive anti-black media propaganda campaigns. It's, however, not consistent with reality. Contrary to the popular perception created by repetitive, deceptive media propaganda campaigns, the largest recipients of welfare are not black women. It's instead are, in fact, white women. Nationally, most of the people who receive benefits from the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Programs are white women. According to latest data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which administers the program, 40.2% of SNAP recipients are white, 25% are blacks. I know that this disclosure may be a hard pill for many to swallow, since we have been constantly told that blacks are the leeches of society that takes up most of the welfare recipients. So following that logic, they must make up the greatest percentage of these subsidies. But wait, you say, blacks still make more than their fair share of these hands out. After all, blacks makes up only 13.5% of the percentage of population, right? Yet black people comprise nearly twice that of the SNAP recipients. True, but I would counter that with this fact. The largest percentage of unemployed in the U.S. are black people at 15.8%. Whites makes up 77% of the population, while their unemployment rate stands at 7.9%. Yet they still make up over 40% of food stamp recipients. Regardless of how they try to twist facts to serve their false negative narratives about black people, the largest recipients of food stamps and other welfare assistance programs are in fact white people. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception. Most people are also currently functioning based upon their perception that the largest factors of affirmative actions are black people. This perception is an elaborate white distorted version of reality that is also not consistent with reality. According to the Corporate Congressional Election Study, in the first 3 decades of affirmative action, white women benefited more than any other groups. Columbia University law professor Kimberly Crenshaw also explained in her 2000 essay framing affirmative action of why depicting black people as the poster child of affirmative action is totally flawed. The primary beneficiary of affirmative actions have in fact been white women. She declared that the largest benefactors of affirmative action are in fact white women. A report by the Department of Labor also found that over 6 million women overall had advanced their jobs due to affirmative action, and that 70% of these women were Caucasians. Contrary to popular belief, affirmative action's largest benefactors are not black people, but in reality are white women. Therefore, by extension, the white society has benefited most from affirmative action. Many people have also been manipulated to believe that before the white society invaded Africa, that Africans were uncivilized and illiterate, and therefore the invasion and the enslavement of Africans allegedly benefited Africans. This is absolutely untrue. The truth is, long before the Europeans invaded Africa, it was Africans, when we call ourselves Moors, that civilized Europe. All of Greece's first scholars openly admitted that their knowledge originated in Africa. The world's first scholars were in fact Africans. Africans introduced science, writing, math, philosophy to the world. The world's oldest university, library, manuscripts, encyclopedia, hearing prosthetic, mathematical tools, medical journals are all located in Africa. Africans invented the wheel, paper, the calendar, the concept of 24 hours in a day. Africans are the first to build in stone and to smelt metal. The largest wall ever built is not the Great Wall of China. It's actually the Great Wall of Benin, located in Nigeria. It is 4 times larger than the Great Wall of China, and it's recognized by the Guinness World of Records book as being the largest wall ever built. Your perception of reality are distorted by lies you've been fed. Many people have also been manipulated to believe that most inventions that have revolutionized the world were invented by Caucasians. Moreover, to believe that black people are the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history. However, this is also totally untrue. The hidden reality is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were either in fact invented by black people or directly inspired by earlier inventions by black people. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras or microphones on our cell phones. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home security surveillance systems, no home game cartridges, no motorized vehicles, no steam engines, no traffic lights, no working light bulbs, no elevators, therefore no skyscrapers, no air conditioning. There would be no modern color PC, no 3D movies, no central heating, no refrigerators, no helicopters, no washing machines, no lawnmowers, no dryers, no refrigerated trucks, no blood banks, no fiber optics, no nanotechnology, no female sanitary pads, no bathroom tissue, no pencil sharpeners, no lawnmower, etc., etc. The technological advancements made by black people throughout history have been extraordinary. The hidden reality, in fact, is that there is not a single person on this planet whose life has not been enriched by the many inventions made by black people. Here's the hidden fact. Throughout history, the oppressor's depiction of the oppressed has never been a true one. It's always negatively distorted to serve the oppressor's nefarious agenda. These facts have remained consistent throughout history and is especially true now in regards to black people living under white dominance. Wake up. Our perception of reality are controlled by the narratives that are fed into a society. Public perception is not shaped based on facts nor reality. It is shaped by the narratives. And the white society controls all of the narratives. They constantly feed false narratives into our society that exalts themselves and marginalize black people. Doing so creates false perceptions within the society that aids the white society in maintaining their social dominance over black people. This is the hidden reality. According to social science, in order for a dominant group to maintain its position of social dominance, the narratives fed into a society must endorse their position of dominance. Doing so conveys a subliminal message that the dominant culture are inherently superior and are therefore supposed to rule over subordinate population. Also, by constantly inundating the subordinate population with fraudulent negative narratives about themselves, this conditions the subordinate population to believe that they are inferior, and it makes them more compliant with the dominance of the dominant groups over their lives. We are being controlled through social sciences. The white society has weaponized their monopoly over information. And in order to liberate ourselves, we must learn this social science. This means elevating our minds above a biblical fairy tale and a silly slave syndrome myth and start focusing based upon our reality. Because if our understanding and our plight remains flawed, then all liberating remedies that stems from these flawed perceptions will also be flawed. This is another reason why the white society has fed so much disinformation into our communities, false information. Because by keeping our understandings flawed, this prevents us from developing a proper way of liberating ourselves. The truth is, The white society deploys disinformation propaganda campaign that shapes public perceptions in ways that aids him in maintaining his white dominance. His power is his monopoly over information. Our beliefs in his lies gives him his greatest power over us. Many whites are walking around with a narcissistic ignorance and arrogance because they don't know that their collective self-esteem has been falsely bolstered at the expense of the collective self-esteem of black people as a means of maintaining white social dominance. This is the real world. This is the reality. This is the real matrix. It's time to learn the truth of our plight and condition and recognize the white society sits upon a throne of white exalting and black marginalizing lies. Those lies create and maintain false assumptions within society that aids them in maintaining their social dominance over black people. One love and peace, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the real world.